Happiest of Mondays to you all, and welcome back to another episode of Weebs of the Ring. That's right, it is not only I, but our co host as well. Drop this box. We are here to talk about Monday Night Raw because who are we exactly? Well, we are a couple of weebs who enjoy the entertainment of professional wrestling. Now, allow us, because with our anime in our souls and the thoughts of wrestling out of control, we will be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling event of the evening, giving our thoughts and predictions on what's to come and provide an experience inclusive to all you nerds out there. So grab your put through an experience like none other. Brought to you by AniMa W3 Studio. This is the Weebs of the Ring podcast. And like you see before you, we have our two co-hosts of the podcast, the very mad dragon Watkins and the no hip thrusting Drop This Box. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope you guys are all doing well out there. With me screwing up the intro right there, you can kind of tell just the kind of night I'm kind of having tonight. But Drop, I just want to ask you real quick, how you doing, buddy? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good tonight.
Yeah. I was doing pretty good. Um, I was doing really good, and then I got deflated. But we'll talk about all that. I'm making it a little bit more than it is, but I digress with all that. But yeah, hopefully you all are having a lovely start of your week. Again, we had Monday Night Raw tonight, and we had the continuation of the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. And first and foremost, I do want to talk to you really quick, Drop. How do you feel about like this weekend's matches that we had in the live event stream? I know we didn't, get to see these matches happen, but we at least got to see the winners of the matches, their reactions to it, and also a change to one of the matches too. But yeah, how are you feeling about the the first round matches we got this weekend and the results from them?
Well, I felt like with LA Knight that made sense
Hmm.
with Shayna Baszler and Maxine Dupree because Zelina ended up getting hurt. Shayna going over made sense.
Yeah.
And Kofi going over Ray made sense because there's a built-in story with Kofi and Gunther like we saw tonight. So all the results
Hmm.
made sense. So I didn't really have any issues with them.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I, I found that's interesting too. That because I know we had talked briefly about like these matches being on live events and not on live TV, like people like LA Knight, for example. And he actually responded to a fan on Twitter about it and basically echoing what we had said on Friday about like, yes, it would have been great to have these on live television, but this is something special for the live audience crowd who don't really get like a lot of matches that actually mean something in the grand scheme of WWE. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's just kind of echoing those sentiments we made.
Yeah, because a lot of those matches they normally get on those house shows are like throwaway
Hmm.
matches. Like I still remember when like every house show match that came up, Cody was like fighting Shinsuke like every single time.
Yeah.
So at least with something like this, it's different and actually makes sense.
Hmm.
And it's kind of cool that the tournament continues even off air.
Yeah.
So at least right there, it shows you that it still matters and we're doing it on the live shows. So we
Hmm.
could just come full circle with this tournament each week.
Yeah. And oh man, I don't know. Just I like that aspect of it because like it also just it makes your world, makes your WWE universe that you're trying to tell us that you have, it makes it feel lived in and like you were just saying, everything matters. We're not just going to these house shows as having these random matches or random things happening. No, we're actually like kind of building to stuff too. Like we kind of saw that too with how they've kind of talked about Cody defending his title, just bringing him in real quick. He like they had mentioned that Backlash is like his first televised defense of his title, just hinting at again that he's been defending it on house shows. Just it's one of those
Hmm.
touches that I really appreciate just as a consumer of the WWE product.
Oh yeah, yeah, I get
Yeah.
that.
Yep. But hey, we had Monday Night Raw tonight, not some filthy live show. Ugh, gross. We had our quarterfinals of our King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournaments, which they had some pretty good matches tonight. Like I was invested in some of them, one more than others, but we'll get to that road when we cross it.
Like, one
Um,
of the things I will say when it
mhm,
comes to Raw tonight is there's a lot of things that they did display on the show mattered. Like, there were stories in and out of the
yeah,
Queen of the Ring tournaments, so at least if, like, certain people that are involved in the tournaments, at least there's something to do with them. Outside of it, like, hypothetically, if Lyra doesn't win the Queen of the Ring, there's a built-in story with her and Becky going up against Damage Control, so at
hmm
least that's telling you that Triple H is giving stories that could come out of this tournament, and we could go even further with all of them.
Oh yeah, and like even people that aren't involved in the tournament, like your Braun Breakers, for example, there's a story being told right there about how Pierce is like, okay, I would have loved to put him in there, but I didn't want to throw him in with the Sharks. And I do like the line that Braun
See,
said about like pulling people in and making them drown and all that. And it's
yeah,
just it's adding a lot to the intensity of Braun Breaker and how he kind of has a chip on his shoulder. And I'm gonna be very curious what his first program is gonna be on Monday Night Raw.
I will say this though.
Mhm.
I'm honest. I'm honestly surprised Braun's not a part of this because if you're gonna use an excuse like that, then why is Mello part of the tournament on SmackDown
Right.
side?
Well,
Because
I
it's
guess mhm.
because they're both at the same level when it comes to competitors. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna use Mello, it would make sense if you could use Braun. And I know
Mhm.
some people are saying, "Oh, maybe they don't wanna, um, maybe they don't want like Braun getting like a pin or something like that. They want to build him up a lot more." Well, you got
Yeah.
Jade in there. You're trying to build
Yeah.
up Jade to be like this top top contender in the women's division, so there's really no excuse for that. So it's like you got Mello there, they're at the same level. You got Jade in there, so you can't really say, "Oh, well, Braun's not ready," or "We don't want him to take a pin," or something like that because you have
Mhm.
two other people there, a part of the tournament. So I don't know. I just honestly feel like even if Braun didn't win the tournament, at the same
Mhm.
time, what really matters when it comes down to it is the effort that you put to get all the way through the tournament. Because
Yep.
look at Lyra, for example. Lyra is an upcomer. She
Mhm.
just got drafted from NXT to Monday Night Raw, and she's in the semifinals against Io Sky. So that's very telling that they're pushing somebody like her, even though she literally just came up. They're pushing her to that level. So
Mhm.
it just makes me think, okay, why can't Braun be in a quarterfinals match or semifinals match
Right.
just to display that, yeah, this guy's legit. He's going to be the next guy that you're going to be seeing from years to come. That was
Mhm.
my whole issue with that.
Yeah, and like I kind of look at it as in a kayfabe kind of sense. Is like, okay, we're seeing a difference between how Nick Aldis books his stars and how Adam Pierce books his stars, and like there's storyline stuff with that too. That could even tie into Adam Pierce and Nick Aldis clashing about their ideals and all that. Maybe Braun ends up moving to SmackDown. Like there's a trade even after the draft because he's pissed off on Raw. Like we could be leading into that, and I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest takeaway with this Braun Breaker not being in the tournament. I think at least in my mind, it's going to be building up to something bigger and something that's going to really push him to another level. And I mean, part of that could honestly be him taking the title from Zammy.
Yeah.
Like, and
I would
not only just like taking it from him, but hear me out on this, like just destroying Sammy, like almost a glorified squash match, if you will. Like, I don't know, that's just an idea to kind of put
mhm.
put in the noggin there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, if anything, if he's going after a title at this moment, it's probably going to
Hmm.
be that one, and then they're going to build him up from beyond there.
Yeah. But yeah, so we got some King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring matches to talk about. Let's start, of course, with our Kings of the Ring. We have Kofi Kingston taking on Gunther first tonight. And the whole story here is Kofi trying to defend Woods because, Woods got hurt. He can't be part of the King of the Ring tournament. He can't defend his crown and all that. So Kofi is putting it upon himself to take that load and defend Woods in this. And this was a really good match, especially with like this attack before the bell and all that, and just like this whole story
Yeah.
of uh Kofi attacking those legs, making sure that Gunther can't be upright and all that. Like, because a lot of Gunther's offense is upright, like suplexes and like strikes and all that. And Kofi did a really good job throughout the match trying to keep Gunther grounded.
Yeah, and I like how he took advantage of that before the match
Hmm.
started because you
Oh
can
yeah.
only imagine what could have happened if they just started the match like a regular way. They just ring the bell and they start going at it. You can only
Hmm.
imagine what could have happened at that point because if Kofi didn't take the risk that he did, Gunther might have just manhandled him throughout the entire match, just treated him like a rag doll. Because coming into this,
Yeah.
we obviously knew that Gunther wasn't going to lose against Kofi Kingston. Like, no disrespect to Kofi Kingston, he's
Oh
a
yeah.
great wrestler. I've been watching Kofi Kingston for years now. I honestly can't remember, but he's been there for a long time ever since I started watching the product.
Hmm.
But when it comes to somebody like Gunther, and this tournament is pretty much made for him, he's the ring general, king of the ring, just fits so well with him. And he's pretty
Yeah.
much the fan favorite to come out on top and win the whole thing. It makes sense why he would have won this match. But I did like how Kofi strategized because I honestly would have done the same thing. Like, imagine
Hmm.
if you're looking at somebody like Gunther, that's very intimidating. You know how strong he is. So you gotta like damage the giant, and then once the time comes, you could strike and hopefully you could take him out and you can go for the 1, 2, 3. But obviously with Gunther, it's not that easy. So pretty much what we saw like throughout this entire match, it's like, yeah, Kofi got the advantage at first, but then once we started getting deeper into the match, Gunther just
Hmm.
started getting into his character where he just pretty much took control after that. And then you had the thing about Gunther is like he doesn't care, he just keeps on going. Like he could easily do like that power bomb and then just to roll him up, but he just wanted to
Yeah.
put Kofi in so much torture, which it makes sense because it's like this guy just came out and started attacking me out of nowhere. So obviously he wants to repay what Kofi did to him. So instead of just doing that power bomb, he puts him into a Boston crab, and it looks like
Yeah.
a very nasty Boston crab, especially with how strong Gunther is, and he just has Kofi like tap out like that. So
Mhm.
it's like you gotta applaud for the effort that Kofi did because at least he went in there and took the advantage. Because honestly, what else could you really do? You can't just have a regular match with Gunther. You kind of had to
Yeah.
weaken the guy somehow. There's only certain people that have beaten Gunther, like Sammy and Ilya and Braun. So there's only like so much you could really do to like have this guy just at a weakened state or have him weakened in like some way, shape, or form.
Mm.
So I do applaud him for like the effort he put, but I thought it was a pretty good match, honestly. I didn't think it was
Yeah.
bad at all. Definitely a good start.
Oh, yeah, no, like, yeah, especially the start of this, and there was a moment too, it's just like, as soon as Gunther caught Kofi doing that dive outside, and I forgot what movie did, but he did something, and, like, you just get this feeling, this energy coming off of Gunther. It's like he's mad, he's like legitimately angry, but like he's not really showing it. And it's kind of like this stoic anger, if that at all makes sense. Because
Hmm.
like afterwards, like he just lays in these suplexes like onto Kofi, onto like the barricade outside and all that, and onto the table, and like going into commercial after like he did that Boston Crab on the table, which I mean, I guess that does more damage. I don't know. Like I don't make the rules, whatever. But like just the way he was just calmly destroying Kofi Kingston at that moment and, turning the match around in his favor. But yeah, I mean, this was just a good match again. Like, I mean, Gunther has really good chemistry with a lot of people. There's not really many that he doesn't have it with, but especially like these smaller guys and these high flyer guys, like he does really good uh Goliath for somebody else's David. But yeah, again,
Mhm.
like the outcome was expected. Gunther was going to beat Kofi, and he did, which I will say this. We have been praising Kofi a lot, and rightfully so. There was one counter he had. It was with this like this surfboard kind of stretch kind of thing that Gunther was doing, and Kofi just easily just kind of like flipped over into a pinfall. Um, I don't know. It was just really clean when I saw it go. Like just the way Kofi was able to flip himself off of like Gunther's stretching move and just go right for the
Mm.
pin. I don't know. It was done so seamlessly. It's one of those like little things I notice in a match like that that just it kind of elevates it just a little bit for me.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Mhm. But yeah, I mean, again, Gunther wins power bomb into a Boston Crab, which looked great. We did have a couple interview segments after the match. Well, not really. One of them wasn't really an interview segment. It was more of just Karrion Cross coming by Kofi Kingston, kind of confronting him, maybe planting some seeds for a feud with Karrion Cross. I don't know how are you feeling about Karrion Cross getting involved with Kofi Kingston and the Judgment Day.
One of the things that I do notice about Karrion Cross
Mhm.
is when he speaks like these little philosophies, like whenever he decides to target somebody, I always notice that they end up becoming true. Like you saw the same thing happen with AJ and
Mhm.
Shinsuke, and I can't remember the other ones on the top of my head. But if you've seen the people that he targeted before, for the most part, with all of them, they end up changing in some way
Mhm.
where they're not really the same person that they were before. So I'm thinking just going off of that, just based on what we've seen from other superstars that Carrion has interacted with before, I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up doing the exact same thing to Kofi Kingston. Like maybe it will start off as a feud at first, because
Mhm.
that's how it was when Carrion was getting into feuds with these different kinds of people, and then they ended up changing afterwards. I can definitely see the exact same thing happening to Kofi, but, like, the way I look at it, it's like it's kinda hard for me to really see Kofi Kingston, like, be like this heelish character, because I honestly can't really remember if he ever went down an arc like that where he was like a heel Kofi
Oh,
Kingston, and if it
I
was a thing, it might have been, like, early in his career, but I don't really know on the top of my head.
yeah, I think the
But
closest was when the New Day started, but they were
okay.
kind of like the funny heels, if that makes sense. Like they always, joked around a little bit more, but like they were still heels and they cheated and all that stuff. But that might have been the closest, but it's never been like a serious heel Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you know,
So, like,
but
I'm honestly expecting that to happen personally. Like, that's
mhm,
honestly my prediction with that,
yeah.
just based on what we've seen from Cross before when he was on SmackDown interacting with these different people. I mean, you have like this rogue AJ now. You got
Mhm.
Shinsuke that's like really out there.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time before the same thing happens to Kofi.
Yeah, and hopefully he can rise above it and kind of stick with the power of positivity and all that cuz that's one thing about the New Day is they usually have like a big, well, I guess not big, but like they'll have a big rivalry with somebody where like their power of positivity is always being thrown at or being challenged, I mean. And
Mhm.
normally they do rise above it, but maybe Karrion Cross can finally like put that wedge into that positivity, like maybe put that little tiny bit of darkness inside of their light. I don't know. Again, we'll have to wait and see with that. Um, But we had another interview segment where Kathy Kelly, she tries to stop Gunther on his way into the locker room, but he's just too focused. He's not dealing with it. Instead, Kaiser deals with it, and he's kind of talking shit about Sheamus. And I'm assuming we're getting a Sheamus Kaiser program soon, which I mean I'm down for. I mean, I like
Yeah,
Ludwig Kaiser.
I honestly thought
Like
he was right there.
I
Like
thought
the
so
way that
too.
like the way that they were and like instruct the way that they structured that interview and the way that he was telling Kathy Kelly like all this kind of shit about Sheamus, I was
Hmm.
literally expecting him to be right behind him, or he was just walking in. He's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, fella? Like I heard what you said." And then you got
Yeah.
like a match scheduled for like the following week, and then you start that feud between the both of them. I mean, at least it gives Sheamus something to do because I would hate for
Oh yeah.
Sheamus to be in like a nothing feud where he's just not doing anything. Like at least that gives him something to do for the time being. And like since we
Hmm.
are on the topic of Sheamus as well, and we brought up Braun not that long ago, there's also like little things sprinkled in with that. So maybe that's something that we eventually get built
Yeah.
down the line. And also you gotta remember that Sheamus's whole stick right now is to become a Grand Slam champion and getting that IC title. So
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see when are they going to hit that mark for Sheamus? Like when are they going to do it? Because obviously they kept him on Raw for that very reason, and I just feel like he's more fitting on Raw because you got a lot of these other big guys like Gunther and Braun. There's just a lot
Hmm.
of good matches that he could have, but it just makes me think like, okay, what are we doing with Sheamus after this?
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll just have to keep building Sheamus up to hopefully eventually one day not regretfully. I almost said regretfully, but no. Now, hopefully,
Yep.
Sheamus does get that IC title because, yeah, I
Yeah.
would love for him to be a Grand Slam champion.
Yeah.
And I do want to point out though that Kaiser, like Ludwig Kaiser's promo work during this segment, man, it was really good. Like he had the intensity just ready, just fired up, ready to go, ready to just like because that's the thing. Like, yeah, he's talking a lot of shit on Sheamus, but it's like he was ready to kind of back it up. Like he wasn't being like a coward or anything. Like he wanted to bring a fight to him, which I mean that's the new side of Ludwig Kaiser we've been getting in the past couple weeks. Just it's more intense, not um not wanting to take any crap from anybody shtick. Now he'll still, run away, not fight because hey, I'm not gonna fight not on my terms. No, only on my terms. So I'm more curious to see how he's gonna react with Sheamus if he's gonna actually like try to kick his ass or whatever. So
Yeah,
we'll just have
because
to wait and see.
I at least want Sheamus to like focus on Kaiser for the time being
Hmm.
because we've already seen Sheamus and Gunther numerous times. Not saying I don't want to
Yeah.
see it again because those two always put on a classic whenever they're in the ring with each other. But I at least want Sheamus to get into some of these new feuds and just have him interact with different people, if that makes
Hmm.
any sense.
Yeah. No, it makes total sense. But it's funny you mentioned, interacting with different people, like having matches with different people and all that, because
Mm,
our main event tonight was a match against people that haven't fought each other. And hey, there was a possibility of having a match that we haven't seen in a few years at this point. Something maybe a little different than what we just saw, like what, like a 2 months ago or something.
yeah.
Yeah. So our main event tonight was main event Jey Uso versus Ilya Dragunov, and I mean, I
I
get
already know
it.
how you felt about this.
Okay, look, no. When I
I
say
was
I had a tweet, dude, I had a tweet ready because I was excited for this because Gunther and Ilya Dragunov, I finally realized what fight it made me it made me remember just seeing those two. It reminds me of old school Dragon Ball. It reminds me of freaking Goku versus Tien because the thing is, Tien used to be a good fighter. And I say used to because, hey, that was back in like the 80s, early 90s when he actually was relevant to Dragon Ball. But like, he was a legit threat. Like, he was a person that Master Roshi was all like, oh, yeah, you can take over and be like the new leader of the generation and all that. And then like, you have Goku's like, in a way kind of like Dragunov, but like, in ways not. But like, it's more of like the style that they have. It's where like young Goku would do whatever he could to win. He would like innovate his moves. He would like kind of copy some of people's moves. Like, he would do whatever he could to win because victory meant everything to him. And even like fighting strong people did, just kind of like Ilya Dragunov in a way. And like with how versatile not Dragunov, how versatile Gunther is as well, it reminds me a lot of Tien, because Tien was kind of the same way, in where like he had a counter for everything Goku had. So like you had the possibility not only for like a live action version of that on the main roster, but like you had an opportunity to have a story where you have eternal rivals on your roster. And I'm sorry, I am just like, no, 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 because I need to just get this. I need to get it off. Sydney, I know I'm
And
getting
one
a
thing I will
like
say, chat, before he gets into his little rant,
mm,
which is perfectly
mm,
fine because I have a few things to say as well. I
yeah.
do want to point out that the very mad dragon walkings is very fitting for this episode today.
It is. It is. Because dang it, man. It's just like, okay, okay,
I'm already
okay. So
starting to
like,
feel the heat, so I'll just start drinking this water while you go on.
like, oh, dude, drink your water, and hopefully you don't drink all of it by the time I'm done. Okay,
Hmm.
so because here's the thing, you have a story where it's just like you can have an eternal rival thing where it's just like they face each other, they trade off wins now, because like, yeah, their first match was like what, 2 3 years ago. It was like, yeah, like 3 years ago. Three, no, it was back during NXT UK, so it was like 4 years ago almost.
Yeah, it's
um
quite some time.
yeah, and that was the only time they faced each other in WWE, if I remember correctly. So
Yes.
already Dragunov has a win over Gunther. So now Gunther can just get his win back. And like, you can have a thing where they trade off wins and all that stuff. I mean, you've done it before with people like Sasha Banks and Charlotte. You've done it with like dare I say, Randy Orton and John Cena, uh John Cena and Edge a few times. Like, you've done it with these superstars that like are really good rivals because like they keep facing each other. Triple H and Shawn Michaels were like best friends, and they kept like trading off wins. They had to have like a 2 out of 3, like, what was it? It was like 3 stages of hell match that they had
Yeah.
to have for
Yeah.
the title
Even the
for one
Rock, the
thing.
Rock and Stone Cold too.
The Rock and Stone Cold, they had 3 matches at WrestleMania, one of them not being for a title. It was just so The Rock could be like, I need to beat you at WrestleMania, but whatever. It's just like you have a story like that you could do. You also have the opportunity to like make your tournament, make your King of the Ring be something epic. Like, you're bringing it back. You have like these awesome talents in there, and this is in no way to disregard anybody else that are in this tournament. But I mean, you see 2 stars on the caliber of Gunther and Dragunov on your bracket. You have them on opposite ends. You know the history, you know the story, you know your audience knows the history and story. You even tease it tonight when they like stare off on each other. And it's just like, you're not going to give that to us. You're going to hold off on that. You're going to do that thing where you hold off on giving us what we want. And on one hand, that works out great. Look at Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. That was great because we waited for it. But like, you could have just given us something epic on Raw. And there's also the argument of, oh, it could just happen at a PLE. Why would it happen on a random Raw? Here's the thing. We have gotten great matches on Raw and great matches on SmackDown. I'm gonna go back in the past too. We got John Cena and Shawn Michaels for an hour on Monday Night Raw. We got Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar on SmackDown. We got during the freaking Thunderdome era. We got Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns for the Uwu title. Like, we got these awesome matches on free TV before. Why not do that again to like fully just like cement your King of the Ring thing? This was like the whole argument I had during WrestleMania time with the tag title thing. It's like if you want to fully like if you want to fully solidify your new reign, your new regime, then give it to your boys, give the titles to your boys. But I get it with Awesome Truth, and I get it with A Town Down All Under. I get it. I get the storyline stuff, but it's just like it's like it's just right there. You craving it, like it's right at the tip of your tongue, like right at the tip of your fingertips, and then like it just gets yeeted away. And yes, I meant to say yeeted away because why Jey Uso? I like Jey Uso. I like the yeet. I do. But it's like,
He
oh,
won. He won
I want
clean too.
more. I want
That's
more. And
another thing.
yeah, he won clean to a move that multiple people have kicked out of. And yet
Yeah,
Ilya Dragunov hits the H bomb and Jey Uso kicks out of it, and then a splash takes out Ilya Dragunov.
here's one thing I will say about this, and this is why I'm not really a fan of the matchup that we're getting next week. We've already seen Gunther versus Jay before, so seeing a match like that again isn't that appetizing to me
Yeah.
because I've seen it because him and Jay went up against each other before for the IC title, and then that's when Jimmy interfered, and then that's when they kickstarted their feud for WrestleMania. I understand why they're doing it because they want Jay to be the focus of whatever future plans they have for him. I get that. And one of the things I'm hoping it's not turning into, and I'm just going to say this now before I start talking about what I was going to say before, because I actually forgot to mention this on Friday. So I might as well talk about it now since we are on the topic of conversation for the King of the Ring.
Yeah.
But my issue is I'm really hoping that they're not going to turn this King of the Ring tournament into like a bloodline story. And I'm
Oh,
not
I
saying this
saw
is
a
going to
tweet
happen
earlier
because,
with that.
yeah,
I saw a tweet about that earlier. I was like, no, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
yeah,
Please.
exactly. And it's like, I'm not
Oh,
saying this is going to happen, but obviously, me, Walkings, Vash, we're going to talk about those hypotheticals because you honestly never
yeah.
know. I mean, jumping into the show tonight, I thought Ilya was going to come out on top. I thought we were going to get Ilya and Gunther next week. Those two were the perfect people to put up against one another to really show how important this tournament is because those
Yeah.
two guys fight the exact same. They'll leave a whole bunch of welts all over their body. They're out for blood. They're wild dogs. So if you want to show how important it is to advance to the final round at Saudi, at the King and Queen of the Ring to finally get crowned, those two guys right there show you exactly how important it is to get that golden ticket all the way to Saudi so you could be in the finals to win the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
But going back to what I was saying about the whole thing with Jay is I don't want this whole thing to turn to a bloodline storyline where we're going to talk about the hypotheticals where you have Jay and Tama Tonga in the finals, and then you got like Solo involved, and then you have Tonga Loa involved, and then a whole bunch of other shit happens, and then that's when you get that debut of what's his face? Really great guy. I shouldn't have phrased it like that. Who am I thinking of?
Who?
It's the guy that we
Tom?
thought was gonna. It's the guy who we thought was
Oh,
gonna debut.
Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, Jacob Fatu. I apologize for saying that guy, by the way. But
Nah, it's that
then
guy.
you factor in Jacob Fatu making his debut.
Mhm.
So now we have him siding with Jay, which I honestly feel like it's probably leading down that direction because I've heard reports of they don't really know what use they're gonna have for him, and they don't want him overshadowing Solo.
Yeah.
So honestly, the best thing you could really do is just pin him against Solo. So that makes a lot of sense
Yep.
because pretty much in a nutshell, that's who Solo could really be if they built him to be that kind of character like Jacob Fatu is. But Jacob Fatu is one in a million. But that's a story for another video. But I just don't want this whole thing to turn into a bloodline thing. That's my main issue, because it's about the king and queen of not it's about the king and the ring. It's
Yeah.
not about, oh, let's just make the King of the Ring tournament a whole nother bloodline story. It's not about that. It's not about that at all. And I really
Yeah.
hope it doesn't turn into something like that. But at least with me looking at next week with Gunther and Jay, it gives me more confidence that, yeah, Gunther more than likely is going to come out on top in this, because he's just tailor fit for this whole damn thing. If Gunther does not come out on top and he doesn't head to Saudi, because my fantasy booking for this whole tournament is Gunther and Randy Orton. I feel like that
Yeah.
would be a great match, and Randy Orton is the perfect opponent. If Randy loses, it won't hurt him. But I just feel like Gunther's tailor made to win the whole thing. So honestly, I love Jay, just like Watkins does and everybody else. I'm a huge fan of Jay, but I'm definitely gonna be rooting for Gunther next
Look,
week.
tonight was Yo Neat, so I'm
Yeah,
sorry. It was a no yeet night. Some nights you gotta have the no yeet, and next week is probably also gonna be a no yeet night because here's the other thing too, because like we talked about stories being in these tournaments and all that, and like the Bloodline story, like as good as it is, like Drop was saying, it doesn't need to be involved with the King of the Ring. That we could have the other stories going around, but like
yeah,
the other story too, as well. I'm just gonna throw this out there. If Jay does go over next week, there is a story with him and Randy.
yeah,
There is at least a built-in story with that, which yeah, we could see like some culmination with that, but do I want to see that? Not
no,
really. Like
like
this is
I honestly,
Gunther's time for
it
this.
really is. He's literally, this pay per view's been out even before Gunther
Hmm.
debuted
Yeah,
to become a professional wrestler, but he's tailor fit to win this thing. It's literally his
yeah,
nickname, the Ring General, King of the Ring, just fits him
yeah.
like a bill.
And like freaking Pat McAfee said today, he's gonna hopefully become the King General of the Ring. So
Yeah,
hopefully
and
that
I wouldn't be,
happens.
and I'm honestly predicting Gunther, if he wins this entire thing, to shoot a
Hmm.
shot at Bash in Berlin.
Oh, he's got to. He's got to at that point. Like, come on,
Hmm.
shoot your shot, dude. Take that title from the supposed paper champion, which we'll get into that stuff here in a little bit. But yeah, so it looks like our semifinal next week is gonna be Jay versus Gunther. Again, it's gonna be a good match.
Team
There's
Gunther,
nothing.
right
Yeah, it's
here.
Team Gunther over here. It's full on Team Gunther. I'm sorry. I will yeet after next Monday. Okay, just
Yeah,
I will yeet after that. But also, hey Rome, how you doing tonight? Hopefully you're having a good time. And I see Vash is also agreeing with us. With he does say, Randy King of the Ring, he wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind that either. It's just there are other people that this is
yeah.
tailor made for this
Yeah,
year.
like I wouldn't mind it either. But the
Hmm.
reason why I'm making Gunther versus Randy the match at Saudi Arabia is I feel like that pretty much catapults Gunther into the main event scene right after
Yeah.
he defeats Randy.
Hmm.
Randy is like one of the biggest superstars that they have on the roster. So knowing that you get a win over him, that's like getting a win over John Cena or Undertaker
Yeah.
or whatever legend is out there that's been in the business for years. Even if like Triple H was like still healthy to compete, even getting a win over him would be something that you can put on your resume. But if
Hmm.
Gunther ends up beating Randy, it's all set in stone from there. And honestly, this whole tournament is just built to see who comes out on top from both brands. So
Yeah.
you don't have to really have any continued storylines coming out of this. Randy can just call it a day and just move on to whatever else. I mean, he has Cody
Yeah.
over there to deal with anyway.
Yeah. And plus he'll probably end up having to go with the bloodline, like against the bloodline anyways too, even past the tournament.
Hmm.
So, we'll just have to wait and see with that. But you know what? That's enough of our kings. That's
We'll
enough of the
talk more about
kings.
that on Friday.
Yeah, we'll talk more about our kings on Friday. We got some queens to talk about, and I'm not gonna lie, the Shayna Baszler versus Io Sky might have been my match of the night. this was actually this was really good.
I'll
Like
say
at least
this.
for me.
I'll
Yeah.
say this. This is honestly the best Shayna has looked in a very
Hmm.
long time,
Yes.
and dare I say years since they
Yep.
brought her onto the main roster. Because one of
Yeah.
the things about Shayna that me and Watkins brought up before is she can be like a Becky and a Charlotte, where they're
Hmm.
like the top competitors in that women's division. Where if you ever cross eyes with this girl, she's just gonna kill you and turn you into dog meat.
Yeah.
Like that's just how vicious Shayna is. Like she doesn't take shit from anybody. So just
Hmm.
seeing her in EO in the ring, which is honestly a match I never really thought of before that would actually be fire to watch. But
Yeah.
these two ladies like definitely brought it to the table, and I'm really happy for the performance that they had today.
Well, that's the thing, because like, well, even just the setup for this match, like this is what I love about like tournaments like this, and like just building a story around your tournament. Because like we see some footage earlier today where I guess the main roster parking lot is turning into the NXT parking lot because there's a confrontation between like Shayna and Zoe and the rest of Damage Control, just kind of starting a fight in the parking lot. So if you're walking in a WWE parking lot, please be careful. Make sure you wear, some sort of armor, or just kind of get inside very quickly, because it's dangerous out there.
I mean, at this point, you might as well just become Invisible Woman from Fantastic Four and just try to get your
You
sweet
might as
ass out of
well.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. But it not only just that where we had like the fight before that, but like it bled into the match because Shayna attacked Io before the match. Like we got a lot of attacks before the matches tonight. But they at least made sense, it made
Yep.
sense within the confines of each story. Because like, well, again, with Kofi and Gunther earlier, Kofi's defending Xavier Woods' honor. With Shayna, hey, with lack of a better term in French, fudge this bitch. Like, I'm not. I'm done with this. I'm gonna be the killer Shayna that I am, and she was. And this is what I mean whenever I say you can look good in defeat, because Shayna was booked as a killer in this match. Because like there was that spot where she like put Io's arm into the ring and just like kicked it, you know? Like that's killer Shayna right there. The facial expressions she was giving, like that's killer Shayna. And that's the Shayna Baszler that I want to watch, and like the one that I want to push and see do well in the WWE. But and I even said this in the notes too, like these two have like crazy chemistry together.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised. Like I said before, I never really sat down and thought, man, I want to see
Hmm.
Io and Shayna go in the ring, go at it in the
Yeah.
ring.
I would like to look up their because again, since they can actually mention other promotions, Michael Cole mentioned Stardom and how they had like a big rivalry there. So I would actually be curious about looking that up and seeing what those
But
matches were. See that
Shayna and Io did.
apparently, like he had mentioned them in Stardom, and like I heard
Oh,
Stardom, and I'm just like, wait, hold on, what? You mentioned another company. Now I want to check this out. Like that again, it makes your world so much bigger when you acknowledge the things that are kind of outside of your universe, like where everybody started and came up through.
oh, she was. I didn't know that.
So
Huh.
yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up, because if they were in Stardom, oh, those matches would have hit hard.
Oh yeah, I see her right here. They look really young, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, I didn't know Shayna was part of Stardom, so that actually caught
Mhm.
me off guard right there.
Yeah. So thank you, Michael Cole, for your wonderful knowledge of the wrestling world. Uh
Caw.
good call. Oh man. But you know what? I did say that about Michael Cole, but he got a crossface wrong. He said Io was going for an STF, but she was going for a crossface. I'm like, dude, come on, get your moves right. I was just praising you about knowing things, and then you're gonna call the move wrong. No, buddy, come on. Man, but yeah, again, like this was probably my match of the night. Like it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, they did have a
Caw.
match on March 14th? Huh. Drop. Why are you cacawing? Why are you cacawing?
because we also had another women's match, and I'm just
Hmm.
gonna not say it because I don't want to make a little dirty joke in here with water that got all over my glasses.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, I'm not gonna go down that territory because I had a pause in a couple of my recordings before when I accidentally said something but I didn't mean it.
Oh.
But we also got, anyways, pushing that to the side. That's your little blooper for tonight.
Yep.
We have Lyra versus Zoe Stark, which is another qu- quarterfinal match that we had tonight.
Yep.
And one of the things I really appreciated with this is that Lyra actually got a crowd reaction,
Hmm.
which I was really happy about. They were doing the cause like they did in NXT, so I was really happy about that because
Yeah.
I'm very high on Lyra. I want to see great things for her. So I'm happy that the crowd is actually catching on to her pretty fast, and especially being paired with Becky Lynch is going to
Hmm.
help her tremendously.
Oh yes, that it is. You know what? I I don't mean to be so negative tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I try not to be so negative about things. I try to be positive, be happy about things. But I'm not gonna lie. I want to get behind Zoe Stark. I really do. But
No, I feel you
I
there.
ki- yeah, I kind of had a realization tonight. She's kind of the carrying cross of the women's division, and what I mean by that is she's good in the ring. Like the moves she does, the way she kind of carries her way in the ring, like she's good. It's nothing against her skill. She just has like zero charisma. Like I find it hard to even try to get behind her. Like, even though like part of me wants to, because like again, she is good. It's just like, man, you just kind of suck the energy out of everything.
Yeah, I get what you mean because when I saw her in NXT, and this was probably around the time I started watching NXT before she got called up, um, she was always great in the ring. It's just the character work that she really had to work on.
Hmm.
And I feel like she has a lot of potential because when she got called up, I got excited because I know how great of a wrestler she is.
Yeah,
It's just maybe she needs to be paired with somebody, maybe a manager or something like that that could
maybe.
really help put her over or something because her and Shayna are like on the same boat right now.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of things for them to work on in order for them to get any sort of crowd reaction. And that's not me saying it. It's just if you watch the show, that's pretty much telling you that it's honestly one of the things that they do tell you when you're on the main roster. When you're in NXT, it's easier. You only got a few people there. But when you get in the big leagues and you join the main roster and stuff, you got to strike when the iron's hot. Other than that, you're gonna have a hard time rebuilding yourself. I mean, look at Watkins just said about carrying Cross. That dude has been trying 3 times. It's almost like
Hmm.
he's playing a level of Mario and he keeps falling down.
Yeah.
And then you got the game over screen right there. I mean, dude, the axe is right over there. You just had to hit the axe. So Bowser fell down in the lava. He didn't have to
Yeah.
run straight through him and try to jump on his head. That's how you lose a
No.
life and die. So it's like, you know, you gotta like really strike when the iron's hot because it's
Hmm.
really hard to win over these crowds nowadays. With Lyra's case, it's easier because she has that energy. She's great in the ring. She has a personality. She's paired with one of the biggest, or if the biggest, women's wrestler on the roster right now. So that's only going to help. So that helps her even more. So for
Hmm.
her, it's a lot easier. But in Zoe's case, it's like kind of hard for her. So what I'm thinking that could possibly help with her is maybe like a character change
Yeah.
because she has been the same character since she's gotten called up. Like when I saw that Trish thing, I was hoping it was gonna help her, but it didn't really do anything. And
Well, that's the
then
thing. It's like the Trish thing ended with Becky, and then
yeah,
Trish and Zoe's thing ended just like the same night, pretty much. And
yeah,
like Zoe didn't go anywhere beyond that. Like, yeah, she had the title match with Rhea, which was a fine match, But then, you did those things and then just nothing,
Yep.
and you can kind of tie this into the argument that we've kind of been having for the past, I don't know, when did we start this podcast? Back in January, like,
Yep.
of having a women's mid card title, because like that could help Zoe start like, not saying like a title can immediately fix somebody like that, but it helps, you know,
Yeah.
like it's something,
I'm
other
starting to
than.
think maybe they gotta split her and Shayna.
See, that's the other thing too. It's just like because that was the same issue I was having with Shayna. Because it's like we're gonna throw you into a tag team again instead of pushing you as the singles competitor that that you really are good at being. And it's like,
See that,
what are
that
we doing? What are we doing here?
see that's my issue with this is that I feel like with this draft that came up, there was a
Hmm.
lot of people that NXT could have brought back in, even though
Yeah.
she recently came up. But there's a lot of people that they could have possibly factored in with that mid card title that they have over there. Because you
Hmm.
saw with Corbin recently, where he rebuilt himself, and now a lot of people give a shit about him.
Yeah.
Zoe could easily go back there for a couple months and see that there's a mid card title up for grabs, because that's actually going to be a part of the it's going to be at the NXT Battleground pay per view, and it's going to be a ladder match. So if
Yeah.
Zoe really wanted to, she could like qualify for that, so she could be a part of that or something. But honestly, all I'm thinking at this point is like character change or whatever. Character change is honestly the best thing.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing. But I do want to bring up really quick. Vash brought up a decent question. Um, do we have two mid card titles for Raw and SmackDown? I'm assuming you're meaning like the IC and the US title, which yeah, that technically counts as like two mid card titles, but since we're
Um,
supposedly having the brand split, like it should be like a mid card title for Raw and one for SmackDown, you know?
yeah. Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. What I will say is I'm sort of leaning towards the no, because I feel like
Hmm.
that's just way too many titles at this point. Because you don't because I understand you got one main women's title and one main men's title on like both brands. I get that. It makes sense. But I think factor in with like adding a
Oh,
mid card title for both of the girls in each brand. I don't know. I don't know. I mean that's why I've been saying the entire time. Every time I bring this up, you just got to get rid of those women's tag titles because they're nothing.
yeah.
Even with Jade and Bianca having them, they're just gonna hold those. Honestly, if I'm gonna tell you how they're gonna lose those titles, it's just gonna be either of them turning on each other. That's the whole
Hmm.
story. It's gonna
Yep.
come a point where there's gonna be a whole bunch of jealousy built up or whatever, and then they're gonna lose those titles, and then they're gonna start their feud. But
Yeah.
those are just those women's tag titles are just there as props at this point, and I call them props because that's what they are. They have no value at all. They're a waste. Scrap them. Get rid of it.
Hmm.
But like we've been talking about the mid card title for the women, you could easily do something like that. You could build up some women, have them have that title for a bit. When they're ready for the main event scene, then you could bring them up to the main event scene. That's how I would structure it. That's normally how they do it with NXT. You
Yeah.
have the men go after the North American title, you build them up with that, and then after that, they move up to the main event scene. That's
Yeah.
exactly what Carmelo did.
Yep, exactly. And I think what Vash was meaning too, it looks like he clarified a little bit. I guess he's talking about like two mid card titles for the women, so like one on Raw, one on SmackDown. The only thing I would say about that is I think then you start kind of running the risk of having too many titles, if that
Yeah,
makes
that's my
sense.
issue. That's why I would have just created one.
Yeah, and just having like, because that's the thing, like the women's division does can do well with like the floating champion thing. It's just
Yeah.
you actually have to book your floating champions to be on both like multiple brands and all that. But yeah, we'll
Oh
just have
no,
to wait
I'm
and see with that one.
Vash. I'm telling you the end result. I'm not telling you it's
Oh
gonna
yeah.
happen now. Like with
Oh
Jade
yeah,
and Bianca betraying each other, that's not going to happen for a long time. I'm just telling you, that's the whole reason why they have those titles.
yeah,
That's just the end result. It's almost like somebody tells you a spoiler of a movie or a video game, like, oh yeah, so and so dies towards the end.
yeah.
That's pretty much your spoiler. They're just having those titles for a certain amount of time until one of them turn on each other. That's
Yep,
just what it is. It's going to be out of jealousy or whatever. But scrap those women's
exactly.
tag titles, do a mid card title, have it float between both brands, just like how the women's tag titles is anyway. Problem solved.
Yep. But hey, we got our semifinals ready and set for next week. We got Io Sky versus Lyra Valkyria, which I think is going to hit hard. I think that's going to be a
Oh yeah,
really good match. I think both of them are going to have some good chemistry with each other, and I think we're in for a really special treat next week.
yeah. Hopefully it's a good treat and not like a sour treat because I don't want to start something from SmackDown being in the finals, like me and you were very vocal about on Friday.
Oh yes, but we'll talk about SmackDown when we get to
Yeah.
SmackDown.
Oh, because
Um,
trust me, that's gonna be one hell of a night. I can already tell.
oh yes, it is. But from one hell of a night to someone else who is also having another hell of a night, because hey, that's all of our King and Queen of the Ring talk gone
Yeah.
and
Someone
saved
that's
and all that.
obsessed has an obsession problem.
Oh my god, somebody is obsessed with a somebody who is good at looking like a drug addict, but is not a drug addict. We had Drew McIntyre finally showing back up to Raw and kind of just responding to CM Punk and also saying, "Hey, I'm going to move forward. The only thing I'm thinking about is the world title." Which, are you sure that's the only thing you're thinking about, buddy? Are you
No.
sure about that? Are you positive? Are you sure just somebody from Chicago isn't on your mind all the time? Uh, but this was a really good segment because not only did it start with Drew just spouting his stuff about Punk and calling the fans, I don't want to say fickle, it more like just believing some almost like they were in an abusive relationship or a manipulative relationship with Punk. But I do like the one phrase he said where he's just like, "Look, my neighbor Dave has an inspirational story. That doesn't mean he should be world champion." Because at that point, he starts talking about Damian Priest being a paper champion, and of course, that summons Damian Priest. And I'm assuming we might be getting this soon-ish.
I'm gonna take a stab at it and say at Clash of the Castle
Okay, all right. So okay,
because
yeah, because
it's
I
in
don't.
Drew's homeland and it makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't know if he's ready for Saudi right now, at least, because of
N-
his injury or
No,
whatever.
it's gonna be at
Which,
Clash of the Castle.
yeah. Which I mean, that kind of leaves Damien, I guess, with nothing to do for King and Queen of the Ring, which that kind of sucks for him. Not
Yeah, it's a
defending
similar
his title.
situation with Bailey too because she
Hmm.
defended her title at Backlash, but it doesn't really look like she's defending her title at King and Queen of the Ring. So now it's like Becky's taking her turn to defend her
Hmm.
title there, which is why we have that match of her in Mid Morgan.
Yeah. But I thought this promo segment back and forth, I thought it was really good. Like it was very strong from both ends. I mean, again, both guys have a reason to talk and a reason to fight each other and all that. But like it was almost good. It was and I say almost because like there was a lot of good shots here. Like Priest basically saying like that Drew made Punk more important than his own wife. Like that that kind of hit. That kind of hit Drew pretty hard. But like everything was fine. But much like them, like the Judgment Day calling their backstage area, much like them calling it their clubhouse. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
this last line from Priest, y'all can rise to that. I,
And,
I don't know. I don't know, man. It didn't hit. It didn't hit at all for me.
like Roman Reigns once said, "No pop."
Yeah, there was like he said it, and like you can even tell in his voice that he just didn't believe it. You know.
Yeah, he didn't believe that at all.
Now, speaking of Roman Reigns, for example, um,
That's
I don't
actually no,
know,
actually not.
like,
Since we're on the topic of that, that's another lame one too.
yeah, it is. It's like,
It's like believe what?
yeah, believe what? That you're being pushed down our throats? You know, like you're,
Rise to what?
yeah. What are we rising to? Like to
You could
you?
tell they're
Okay,
clearly setting him down the route to be a baby face, and I'm really
they are.
hoping they structure this properly because you can't just end everything off and saying rise to that. You
Like,
can't.
oh, it was the cheesiest thing ever, and I'm sorry. I can't. I'm gonna have a hard time buying Damian Priest as a babyface when they do because they'll make him the face of everything. Like
Yeah,
his fight with Finn, like the eventual fight with Finn. It's I mean he's gonna be the face in that, which I would rather him not be, but
yeah.
that's just besides the point.
Yeah, like
I don't
everything
know.
else that Damien said was fine. It
Mhm.
made sense for the segment that both men gave
Oh
us.
yeah,
But that ending, I'm
yeah.
not a
It
fan.
was just
I'm not a fan.
oh my god. It almost felt like Vince came by and was just like, "Oh yeah, add this line. That the crowd will love that." It's just like, "No, we don't love that. That's not it,
Yeah.
dude. Just please not again. Not again."
I thought Freddy Krueger was on the podcast for a little bit.
Well, look, he might be one day. We'll see. Maybe he'll get
That little
on.
Vince voice you did sounded like Freddy Krueger.
Look, I've tried to work on some voices before in the past. It's worked out
Mm, he
for
does
some of
sound like
them.
that. So yeah, he does need a better
Yeah.
catchphrase. Not rise for that.
Yeah. He needs a way better
Imagine he went
catchphrase.
up to a girl and said that.
Look, look, if look, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. I have the time. I could do that, but I won't
Yeah.
because I actually respect people.
Yeah.
Oh man. But like I mean this eventual Drew Punk match is gonna it's gonna be fire. Do you think Punk is gonna go all the way to Scotland and cost Drew the title match?
I want to be surprised.
I wouldn't either. Because
And to
Punk
blow
is
a kiss
just that
goodbye
petty.
too.
Yep. Oh, he can oh my god, what if he jumps in the crowd and does that? Oh no.
Drew could very well do the same thing.
Oh, he could. He could.
Wh- that's honestly what I was expecting them to do with Drew. Like before
Mhm.
we got this whole announcement that he re-signed, which we all knew he was going to do. There's no way in hell he was going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I thought he was going to make his whole thing with his contract ending into a storyline, and I thought he was going to win the title back eventually from Damien. Like let's say for example that he was still there with no contract, and then you just had this storyline ongoing with him and Punk, and he eventually wins the title, and he does the exact same thing that Punk did in Money in the Bank against John Cena. I was
Oh, that would be
expecting him to do
great.
some sort of callback to that, but it's fine. I mean, we'll probably
Yeah.
get references to a whole bunch of shit with their feud, which I'm really excited for.
Oh yeah. Like that feud's gonna hit well and this eventual Damian Priest Drew McIntyre match, I think it'll be good. I mean, they haven't really
Mm,
had bad matches in the past, but I think now that Damian Priest is at that upper tier level now, their match will hit pretty well. But that's not the only thing we have with the Judgment Day tonight. Oh no 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 no! Because Judgment Day may be having a new ally in Carlito. Because he ends up backstage, kind of talking to Judgment Day and all that, saying, you know, look, we all hate Ray, and you know, Dom's down, Rhea's down. You know, you got JD McDonough who still has a bandage on his head from Logan Paul
mm.
punching him. Like,
JD
you guys,
McChicken.
JD McChicken, I love it. But
Yeah,
like, you guys need a little extra hand, and Carlito, he's your man. And I like how again this is kind of like putting that wedge between Damian Priest and the rest of Judgment Day.
yeah.
But it's actually kind of funny too because that this is happening with Damian Priest on this end because it was happening with the whole R-Truth thing, even though Damian Priest was kind of like he was kind of egging that on a little bit too. So it's like he's kind of getting his own comeuppance from the R-Truth stuff.
I honestly like Carlito being a part of this because one of the things that I've been wanting to see from Carlito is like something for me to like be invested
Probably
in.
shouldn't show
And
that.
when he came back as like a baby face, I really wasn't buying it because I never really expected Carlito to be a baby face. He's never really been that kind of guy to really just be all
No.
nice and help his friends and stuff like that. He usually does, like you recently saw, just backstab people. That's why his finisher is
Yeah.
just so it just makes a lot of sense, like the backstabber, because he's an a-hole. That's just what he
Yeah.
does. So I'm completely like all for this whole storyline that he has with Judgment Day.
Yeah.
I think it's really good character change for him. Just
Yep.
definitely needed.
And I agree, Vash. Carlito, what the heck did you do to your beard? Because like he's got like the little just the beard part going on, but then you have Dominic standing next to him with just the mustache. And it's like
Mhm.
if you fuse them together, they make, one decent beard. But yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing with that look, buddy? All right.
One of the things I will say, because I'm part of our notes, it brings up how Carlito helped JD and Finn become the
Mm-hmm.
number one contenders for the tag titles. I understand it from a story perspective. It makes sense. Carlito's trying to gain their trust so he can be a part of their group, so they can become a thing
Mm-hmm.
together, etc., so on. But my only issue with this is that I've already seen Awesome Truth and the Judgment Day before. I don't really
Yep.
want to see it again. There could have been different things that you could have done possibly to like build up the storyline with Carlito. Like, he didn't really have to do everything like right away just to gain that trust at that
Yeah.
exact moment within the episode. You could have done a different amount of things, but I understood why they did it because it makes sense for the story. So it's already said and done. It makes sense. I have no issues with it. It's just a little nitpick I have where it's like I don't really want to see this match again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. We spent months of the Judgment Day versus our Truth and the Miz in
Yep.
different like machinations or different like mix-ups and all that. Like we've spent so much time already on them, and now we're getting it again. It's just like the whole Jey Uso versus Gunther thing, which we won't get back on that, but it's like you're
We've
giving us the
seen it.
same shit. Yeah, we've seen it. Like give us something a little bit more new. I get it. People make mistakes. People make tons of mistakes. We're only human. But come on, buddy. Come on, Triple H. I know you're smarter than this. I know you think we're smarter than this. Give us new things, please. Like, gosh, I don't and especially the teams that we're up against. New Catch Republic, AOP, the Creeds, like a
See, this is
fine,
what
like
I would have done since you brought up
mhm,
the creeds. I would have had creeds win this only to build up that storyline with Chad Gable, where Chad Gable, let's say for example, he walks up to the creeds after they win the match, where it's like, "Oh wow, I'm very impressed with all your work. Why don't you guys come talk
mhm.
to me?" Stuff like that. Then you could build in that whole storyline that we talked about before on the show where now Chad has a new group of people that he associates with. You could think of it as like the team angle kind of thing, but it's like Team Chad, where
Yeah.
you have Chad Gable and the Creed brothers. And let's say, for example, he he like mentors them, helps them out and everything. I mean,
Mhm.
they would work so well together because they just have that look to them that they would be a great faction, and you
Yeah.
already have the Alpha Academy falling apart. So that's what I would have done, honestly, out of this. I would just continue building off of that storyline from off of there,
Yeah.
just to have
But
something new.
yeah, exactly. To have something new, but like instead, we just got to keep pushing along with like the Judgment Day part of things, and how like Damian Priest is kind of moving away from them and trying to do his own thing, whereas the Judgment Day they're trying to do their own thing now too. It's just like, but also still try to keep Priest involved, because hey, he's still part of the Judgment Day. But it's just weird thing, because it's like we always want like a faction like this to, stick together for a while, and like, yeah, you could still do your singles run and all that, but like you could still be part of the group, like kind of like how the Judgment, not the Judgment Day, how the New Day is, because like Kofi Kingston. Oh, I thought my dog was growling at something. Sorry about that, folks. You have Kofi Kingston going for the WWE title, by himself, and no help from some help for the New Day, but that's something else. You had Big E still going for it, even though they had him separate from the New Day, but that was a whole different thing. It's just like these people weren't forced out of their groups. They still were able to do their own thing, but still be a part of it. And Judgment Day is trying to do that with Priest, but like he is pushing them away. So like in a way, like they're trying to twist it as a babyface thing, but like we said, or at least I said earlier, it's like I'm gonna find myself hard to believe Damian Priest as a face, just because of just how he carries himself as one, at least at
Mm-hmm.
the present.
Yeah.
But and I mean, again, like the fatal 4-way tag match, I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was 10 minutes.
I'll be honest,
It
I was editing a video while that whole entire
Yeah,
match was on, so
yeah. No,
I was
I was kind of checking out a little bit. I was like, all right, well, because I kind of knew, I didn't know who was gonna win, but I knew it wasn't gonna take much time. There wasn't really much build up for it. I mean, Adam Pierce earlier in the night said, "Hey, this is gonna happen." It's like, "Oh, cool. What is it?" And then like right before it happens, he tells us, it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." Again, like I feel like we've seen this combination of these four teams before face each
Mhm.
other, but I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just the more I keep talking about tonight's Raw, it's just like, the action was fine. Like the acting and the character work was fine, but like some of the writing and booking was just gonna I don't know, buddy. I don't know about this dude, but I do like how you brought up the Alpha Academy, because this brings us to another verse of what I like to call the ballad of the Alpha Academy. Because this verse is all about Chad Gable and his IC title run, because he has become he almost triggered me tonight. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he kind of triggered me a little bit, because like he was being just extra, like even more mean than he's been in the past couple weeks to these people. Like, it and undeserved too.
Don't worry, I'll be the heel on this podcast. I'm Chad, you can do what you want.
Look, no, no. Okay, okay. First of all, it was a good line he did make about Maxine Dupree. I will say that the Taylor
Mm,
not so swift line, like
mm.
that was
Pretty much
good.
pretty much just calling her a pretty girl that can't do nothing else.
Exactly. Which, hey, look, she's getting better. I get it, but whatever.
That's from
That's
his
fine.
perspective, by the way, not mine. That's just what he's
Exactly.
saying.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, no, no. I get you. And then he berates. He tells Tozawa not to dance. Like none of that stupid dancing. And he
Yeah,
makes
that dude.
him face Bronson Reed. Hey, look, another match that we've gotten in the past multiple times. Oh my gosh, it was the night of rematches tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much a squash match. As soon as I heard
Yeah.
Taizawa versus Chris, okay, that's a squash match.
Yep. And yeah, it was one tsunami later, and and I mean Otis and Sami Zayn was basically a squash match too. Like you spend 5 minutes. Well, I mean that's being a
Oh
little
no,
little
that was
extra
pretty
with it.
much what did Sammy win there, or did
Yeah.
it like turn into a disqualification? So I
Oh
remember
no,
I saw stuff.
Sammy
I
won
might have
that.
thought
Yeah, go ahead.
there might have been another match I was thinking of that had a disqualification tonight. Oh, never mind. It was the
Hmm.
I know, okay.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
like yeah, because like Otis does one move on Sammy, and Sammy's down for minutes. Like legitimate minutes
The
because
worm.
Chad Gable's trying to stop Otis from doing the worm, and it's like, Chad, that's one of his finishing moves. Stop making him not do it so we can win the match.
It's
Like,
honestly so hard for me to take Otis seriously, just getting treated like nothing from Chad because he's so much bigger than Chad, so I would expect him to retaliate at
oh,
some point.
oh yeah, he'll retaliate. It's just,
I
oh,
almost thought
oh
he was tonight when they were going up the ramp.
no, they're gonna let that simmer just a little bit because like
Oh yeah, that's
there's at
happening.
least history with Otis and Chad because they were heels and then they turned babyface
Yeah,
again, so it's like they
yeah.
have history and all that. It's just, man, he because that's the thing. Otis is a good boy. He's a good person. He likes helping people and like being there for people and like because he'll do whatever he can to like help his teammate out. But like Chad's starting to get to the point where it's like he's becoming the abusive coach now, where like he legitimately like smacked Otis around a few times tonight.
Yep.
But man, I can't wait for Chad to get his comeuppance. And I mean, next week we're getting Sammy versus Chad Gable to lead up to our IC title match. So that'll be a thing. I'm assuming Bronson Reed's gonna interrupt that match and
Yep. Yep.
beat them both up. you
Yeah,
know?
because neither of them should be taking a pinfall before that match.
No, no, they shouldn't. Um, I mean, that was basically our IC title buildup. It was again, it's mainly centered around Chad Gable with the
Which
Alpha
I like.
Academy.
Yeah.
I do
I,
too. Like,
I'm very into this whole storyline they have with the IC title.
mhm,
Like ever since Gunther lost it, they're
yeah,
keeping that story important with the IC title with whoever holds the championship. So they're definitely doing a good job on that part. So yeah, I'm invested in that.
yeah, and even with the character work with Chad Gable, like
Mm,
it's just emphasizing more of the line that
mm,
this just means more. So like he's just diving into this dark mindset of I need to win this title no matter the cost, whether it costs me my legs, my arms, my friendships, my like colleagues and all that, like my work. Like I am willing to sacrifice whatever needs to be in order to make myself the IC champion to, put that work, put that like prestige onto myself and just kind of reinforce why I do this in the first place.
mhm.
So cool stories all around with there. Ba-da-da-da-da. Sorry, I had to check my notes here really quick. And then we had a couple quick things with Adam Pierce in the back. Again, we had talked about Bronson Reed back there. We had talked about him naming the number one or like the number one contenders match for the tag titles. We had a Kiana James cameo really quick and some funny words from our truth again being confused. Yeah, I mean, again, just the stuff with Adam Pierce in the back is mainly just kind of setting up future events for superstars to come and all that.
Yep. That's all it
Yep.
really was.
Yeah. Um, but we did have one other match tonight that was kind of, to help set up even more for not only, like you were saying, a team up for two Irish ladies, but also some title shenanigans that'll happen in Saudi Arabia. We had Becky Lynch versus Dakota Kai tonight in non-title action. Uh, Match started off kind of slow for me, but it did pick up a little bit. But even before this match, we had a little bit of setup with Liv Morgan interrupting your girl Lyra Valkyria. How'd you feel about Liv just interrupting Lyra's little interview in the back?
I think Liv thinks she's Tiffany Stratton, where she wants to be the center of the universe, but that title's only fit for one person, and that's Tiffany
hmm
Stratton.
Yeah, and
But
last time I checked my watch, my non-existent watch, it was not Tiffy time tonight. So
no, But I do like how Lyra is like, well, why don't you ask her yourself? Because pretty much what happened, folks, is that Liv comes up to Lyra and she's like, has Becky always been a bitch? And then Lyra's like, why don't you just ask yourself? So it's almost like, in a way, because we saw Becky before, she like stormed around the
Yeah.
arena just to come back at that moment. And I forgot what Becky said before she didn't wind up that punch like Raymond does, where, when Raymond
Mhm.
winds up that punch, he can like extend it all the way over there. But it's almost like it was like a light tap. I don't know
Yeah,
what that was.
dude, what even was that punch? Like it was almost like a quick jab, but
Yeah.
I don't know, there was something weird about it. It
It's
was
almost
just
like
kind
you're
of
trying to like
funny.
fist bump somebody or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. There was something weird about that punch, but
But did you know what Becky said after that? She said like something bitch, but I don't really recall
oh,
what she full on said.
what to live after she punched her?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was something like I when I talk when I talk smack, I do it to somebody's face or something.
Oh, so she said,
It
when I
was
when I
something.
talk smack, I say it to someone's face, bitch.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
something like that, something along the lines of that.
I'll be
Um,
honest, after looking at that segment, that was kind of random just to randomly say out
yeah,
of the blue. You just come up to Lyra after she's like doing an interview and she's like, has Becky always been a bitch? I'm like,
yeah, like
are you like reading things that's like going through your head or something?
yeah,
And you're just saying it out loud? I don't know. I just felt that was like a little awkward. I don't
yeah,
know if it
like
was
it
just me
was.
that felt that way.
No, no, no. I get that because I kind of felt the same way, just at least for the setup of that, because like you had Becky interrupt Lyra's interview, and that was fine because it was just her, wishing Lyra good luck and all that, and we already knew Becky was going to be in action tonight and everything, but like that made sense for Becky to kind of interrupt Lyra, and then like you kind of continue the interview, and then Liv comes in, and it's just it has this awkward energy to it, and like Liv says her line and all that, and like then you get the weird punch. And yeah, don't worry, you weren't the only one, at least in this call, that felt awkward about it. Chat, if you felt awkward about it, let us know because
Yeah.
I'm actually very curious about that because like there were a few moments like it was like that, Damian
Yeah,
Priest
because
and all
now
that.
yeah, because now that we're talking about it, it felt
Hmm.
very awkward. This is really random.
Yeah,
Like that almost reminds me of like something you see at high school where it's like you're talking to your friends and
yeah,
then you see like that one kid that you don't normally talk to because they're just somebody that's just, I don't know, like Liv said, why is this person it's like basically,
yeah,
basically what I'm trying to say is like something you whisper to your friends at like school. Oh, was like Jason always a bitch? Was
yeah,
Rebecca always a bitch? Like it's that like typical high school lingo. So I was like,
yeah.
how does that progress to anything?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, especially if, down the road we're gonna have Liv as our women's world champion. It's like you're gonna have lines like that, like you're gonna have delivery like that. I don't know, man. Again,
See,
there was this
that's
awkward
one of the
part of it.
things that's one of the things I have noticed online from like a lot of people I've seen on Twitter. Is a lot of people
Hmm.
have mentioned with her, and keep in mind this isn't me saying it because I like Liv. I think
Hmm.
she has a lot of potential to become something, so I'm happy they're pushing her to this level. I mean, I was actually happy when she won Money in the Bank a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But one of the things I have noticed people say is like Liv kind of feels off when it comes to promo or just mic segments in general. It just feels very scripted. Like we know the show's scripted, but it
Hmm.
literally feels like teleprompter
Yeah.
kind of speech.
And I don't know if that'll come from her just like maybe doing some more classes or like working on that stuff because it's like because like you get people like maybe Kevin Owens or Randy Orton who like don't necessarily need a script, but then like you have other people that are further down the card that might need a few lines kind of fed to them a little bit. But like
Yeah.
you would expect to Liv at least at this point in their career and this point in the WWE to be on on that next level, you know. And I think they're trying to, and that's probably where some of the awkwardness comes from. Is like
Yeah.
them, you know, pushing Liv a little bit to like do a little bit more improv maybe, or like a little bit more off the cuff like scripts, or like
Yeah.
more like bullet point kind of things.
Yeah. And I get it.
Oh
Like, at the
yeah.
end of the day, it's just progression because
Hmm.
a lot of these call ups that you've seen from NXT, like, obviously, once they get used to the whole main roster, once they start practicing and having more and more matches with each other, they're only gonna improve from there. Like, even with,
Yeah.
like, people that we already see, like Gunther. Gunther's already great, but he's gonna keep becoming greater each and every single year. So it's
Yep.
it's all a part of, like, progression with Liv, so I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yeah. And as we progress forward, you know, we have this match, Becky Lynch versus Dakota Kai, which apparently this is the first time we've gotten this, at least in WWE. So,
Oh,
hey, cool.
I could have sworn we've had it
Apparently.
before.
See, I thought that too, but like on commentary, they kept saying, or at least they said it a couple times, I think, like, oh, this is the
Bec
first time these two have ever faced each other.
Yeah, because like, the reason why I was a little confused when they said that is because I
Hmm.
thought when she feuded with the Damage Control, um, around the time when she was, like, teaming up with Lita,
Yeah,
I thought we had a one-on-one match like this before, but I guess it was a first time thing. I think what I
yeah,
might be thinking of is maybe when, Becky and Lita were going up against Dakota and Io when they were the tag champions. Maybe that's what confused me, where I was like, "Oh,
maybe.
okay, they fought before." But if they're strictly talking about one on one, then I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense.
Yeah, which yeah, I was in the same boat as you. I was kind of confused at first. I'm like, okay, wait, hold on, what? I thought they had done a thing, but yeah, the whole tag title thing that makes sense. That is what it is. But yeah, I mean, they had a good match. You know, again, like I kind of said at the beginning of all this, like it kind of started off just a little slow, but it did pick up like after the commercial break. Like they were moving a little faster, like starting to do like some more intense moves and all that. I mean, and again, this was basically a glorified handicap match too, with all the distractions that Damage Control were doing.
And like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, this is pretty much building, like, what Triple H, I assume, is intending to do, like building
Hmm.
stories that are going to continue outside of the King and Queen of the Ring tournament, because you could easily tell that Becky and Lyra are going to be having a feud with Damage Control for quite some time, which a lot of people even picked up on even last week.
Yeah. Yep. But yeah, the match ends when Becky gets, you know, good set of reversals too during this match as well, that led up to Becky getting the disarmer on Dakota Kai. But hey, Kairi Sane and Io Sky don't like that very much, so they end the match in DQ.
Ding,
Lyra
ding,
Valkyria
ding.
is out for the save, and we kind of get a little tease for next week with her and Io, which again I know you're excited for. I know I'm excited for. I can't wait for that match. Uh, and then Liv just comes by and attacks Becky from behind, continuing that story progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, really, that was Raw. I mean, we had our King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring matches, which were they were what they were. We had our fun little rants at the beginning. You know, we had our other stories going on with like the Alpha Academy and Becky Lynch with Liv, our good old Adam Pearce needing a drink, and Judgment Day shenanigans. Like we're shaping up for a decent summer. You know, I'm curious where we're going to be leading to with SummerSlam. You know, who's going to be having what titles, especially with Money in the Bank coming up soon. Like who's
I
going to be?
assume Cody will still have his.
I am assuming that, yeah. So I don't think he's gonna be dropping that anytime soon.
No, the world
Okay.
title will probably be on Drew or someone else.
Yeah. Which, yeah, let that belt kind of move around a bit. Let's build a legacy with that as well. Um, yeah, I mean, again, it was a very, it was on one hand, it was a good Raw, but on the other hand, it was kind of awkward too. Like there were the awkward moments and all that, but I wouldn't say I didn't like this Raw.
No, I can't. I because what I will say, this was, I guess, the best way to describe it. It was a solid Raw.
Hmm.
It progressed storylines. It made ongoing storylines. Past it made storylines outside of the King and Queen of the Ring tournament, which is always nice to see. But like
Yeah.
overall, it's just a solid Raw.
Oh yeah. And again, kind of like what you're saying with like the storylines outside of the King of the Ring. It's just again
Yeah.
we're making the WWE universe feel lived in, and I think
Yep.
that's just the most important thing out of all this going forward. But you know what? Let us know in the chat your thoughts and opinions on Monday Night Raw. Where are you thinking everything's going until Friday? Because hey, we got some more King and Queen of the Ring action for you over there. I mean, we have LA Knight going against Tamatanga, which should be pretty dang good. Randy Orton against Carmelo Hayes, which should be also really damn good.
Jade
And
versus Naya,
yep,
and then we also got Tiffany Stratton versus Bianca.
yeah, which I know you're pulling for Tiffy. I kind of am too, just so we don't get Jade Bianca yet and
See,
all
like
that.
that. See, like we'll talk more about it on Friday, but that's like when
Yeah,
problems start coming in.
yeah, yeah, because you kind of look at it and think, oh, what are we doing here? What is our end game going? Like where are we moving, progressing for all of this? And but not only just that too, it's like and I meant to mention this earlier before we head on out. Um there have been a lot of injuries for this King of the Ring tournament. Like we've had a
Yeah.
lot of replacements like with Drew, Bobby, and then like Zelina Vega getting injured. Like I mean, that's at least 3 that have been happening fairly quickly, and I don't know if these were, like, pre-existing injuries that they had before the tournament thinking, "Oh, we'll be better by then," or if, like I'm just gonna throw this out there, I think Drew's was actually, like, a kind of a storyline kinda thing because, like, yeah, I think he is legitimately
Yeah.
injured, but I think they put him in the tournament to be like, "Okay, we're gonna do this for your story now," you know?
Yeah, these are all the current injured superstars we have right now. We have CM Punk, Seth
Yeah,
Rollins, Jimmy Uso, Bobby Lashley, Rhea Ripley, Drew McIntyre, Asuka, Charlotte, Nikita
yeah.
Lyons, Eric, Dominic Mysterio, Sonya Deville, Shotzi, Corey Jade, and Big E.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, and I completely forgot that Oscar was part of that list on in the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament. So it's like there were 4 injuries already just from your prequel, like your first round matches that couldn't make it. Like I don't know. I don't know what was going on. If they were just kind of hoping they would be ready, or if the injuries just kept persisting and they just couldn't go forward.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to wait for the good old dirty dirt sheets to come out and give us the news on that. Um, but yeah, again, that was Raw for us. Again, pretty all right, awkward show. But again, let us know in the chat as we're logging off, and let us know also in the comment section if you're watching the VOD of this, because we would love to hear from you and kind of talk a little bit, chat a little bit about Monday Night Raw and where everything's going. But I think if that's about it, I can hit that good old outro for us.
Go right ahead.
Oh, I will go right ahead, and hopefully this is a lot better than our intro. But we do want to thank you for taking time of your day to listen to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoyed what we had to say, why not do this right here. Go down to the description right now. There's a bunch of links down there for things like Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all that stuff. Not only for AniMa W3 Studio, but also for everyone that's on the team, for like Vash, for Drop, for me, for Rome, Jokester, all of us. We got links down there. You can follow us there, talk to us there. But make sure that if you are looking up AniMa W3 Studio, that you use a 3 with that we, because hey, we're special like that. And also use the hashtag Weebs of the Ring to interact with us, because we'll be checking that hashtag, seeing what everybody's saying. And we would like to talk to you about wrestling, whether it's before, during, or after any event. And we also appreciate feedback, because we are nothing without you tuning in, and we would love to get better with our production and how we present all of our podcasts. Weaves of the Ring is presented by AniMa W3 Studio. Thanks again to our production team of Vash, Watkins, Drop This Box, Rome, and Jokester, as well as special thanks to JB and Abe. Thank you for joining us, and remember, no stunt grannies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. Have a good night, every single one of you.
Make sure you get plenty of sleep, and we'll see you guys for SmackDown. And I feel like you'll get your big return of Vash there.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Hopefully, he has internet by then. Vash, make
Yeah.
sure you have internet by then.
Yeah.